So you think that science debunks the existence of God
Well,
nowadays?
it did for me. So
But was that a choice?
I mean, I went to Catholic school. I grew up in Catholic. I'm baptized.
No, was that a choice, or you were presented with
I was presented with both.
the truth?
No, I was presented with both.
Let's see.
Like,
Let's say, like you were presented with a theory or a idea that you accepted as truth, and you're like, okay, this to me is the proof that God doesn't exist
well,
and that everything is random.
I'm not saying that God doesn't exist. I just haven't seen proof
Okay.
to believe the existence of God. One, and it depends on your definition of God as two. Well, as two
Right.
as well. So, because we haven't established that, I can't
Yeah, but
tell you.
I-
I won't deny. I was like, this is exactly how things went. Because again,
Yeah, that's a skeptical.
Yeah, it's a
a skeptical way to approach that idea of existence, which it's fine, you know. It comes down to choices, I guess.
but we choose to ignore certain things because they don't really fit our models, or we oh, this thing is a kind of a conflict. Let's not look at this so closely because that's going to create again a cognitive dissonance maybe. It's fascinating. I think this is part of human condition and human nature, like to have these belief systems. It's really it works as almost like a psychological cane, like something that can support you to the complexities. Crutch, cane, yeah, in not necessarily a bad way, because like being a conscious being in this universe is not an easy feat. There's a lot of stuff that we'll have to deal with by being aware, just by being aware, existing and being aware of things. Like it's really hard to justify suffering your own. Like, why would you endure it if there isn't a reason? We as conscious beings, we kind of
But why
try
do
to
we
find
have that
meaning.
need, though? Why?
Well, I would put one explanation could be that
Do you think a human being
It's a
realized that
coping
we needed
mechanism.
that from?
No.
I mean, and then created that for the well-being of the progression of civilization, because human beings, somebody came to the conclusion that we would only strive and progress as a civilization if we believed that there's a higher power, and then wrote history the way it's seen nowadays, and wrote history the way it is, like when it comes to the idea of creation, or the idea of God, the idea of a divine, let's say. And because we understood that, but at first, if the idea of God and the idea of the divine didn't exist in the first place, where did that idea come from?
Well, historically, I think it's tied in to the ignorance of the world. So if I'm a caveman,
Did you just call everybody ignorant?
if I'm a caveman and I don't understand why lightning happens, or why does it rain, or why all these elements are here to attack me. Like I might be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, I might eat some poison something, I might get sick, I don't live past my 20s, because that was the lifespan of an adult human thousands of years ago, right? And I need to sort of give meaning to these things that I cannot explain. A divine power becomes an easy explanation to the ignorance of the universe, because before we knew, we didn't know, and how could you explain it? You can't.
I just think that's oversimplification of the idea of God. Like, oh, it's to comfort people's minds and spirits,
Not
spirits, because if you don't
history.
believe in God, you don't believe in the spirit. But it's to comfort people, or give them a sense of meaning, or a sense of purpose, or I don't know. It's just to too simple.
But I'm
you know,
going
like,
back, way back. I think that the thought of God and the idea of God and the role of God in society and in the world and the societies, because every society has their own version, it evolved with the evolution of society itself, with the evolution of technology. I'm going way back, like to the primitive man who looked at the world and saw all these things that did not understand, and how they found like all these stories that explain why the sun rises and why the moon is there. Like if you go back to the Greek gods or the Roman gods, the Greek version of the Roman gods, the Roman version of the Greek gods, sorry, then you have the god of the sun and the god of the this and the god of the dead and the god of the other. Like you can see how this is like embodiment of a lot of stuff that people did not really understand. Why do the planets dance around each other? Or you know, where do you go when you die? Or why, you know, your fate, why did you live the life that you lived? You know, you had the gods in Mount Olympus moving the pieces, and they all conspired. They were all very human as well. So, but you know, I'm not a historian. That would be a great question for a historian and a guy like a religious historian who can actually tell us how the human thought kind of is thought to have evolved from way back when.
Yeah.
You know, all of these are really interesting ideas.
It's just hard for me to cope with the idea that life, you know, is suffering, and that life is suffering, meaningless, and there's nothing that transcends. There's nothing that is beyond just the hedonistic pleasures of life, you know. And
it's a very tough pill to swallow.
It's just, I mean, it's not a tough pill to swallow. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense, and I feel like the more we take the idea of God away from society, the more troubled people we will have, in a sense that people will find it hard to understand meaning in life and find meaning and find purpose without without a higher idea that transcends into something that will generate eternal life, or a certain illumination, like spiritual, or like that you will transcend at a certain point. You know, something that just keeps moving,
right?
That keeps existing. You know, something that gives you that energy to get up in hard times. You know, I find hard to keep a steady moral posture towards life without the idea that you have something to model after, or to something to answer to, you know, or something that is actually looking down and judging us somehow, you know, and that we will pay for our bad actions, you know, and our bad choices. And I think life proves that. Life itself proves that you know, we are that we are bound to live the consequences of our own actions. You know, I think there's a deeper meaning to that.
Hello everybody, and thank you for watching until the end. This has been Woke Wars, and I hope you liked our conversation. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and drop a comment down below. Tell us what you'd like to hear us talk about next. Also, check out some of our other episodes. We post every Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will see you on the next one.